Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this special session on how to build your personalized AI transformation playbook, especially for talent acquisition. I'm Yaz Dalal with Joveo, and I'm joined by our good friend and customer, Ryan Steen, who's the head of talent attraction at Wells Fargo. And we're also happy to have with us today Joveo's founder and CEO, Kshitij Jain, or KJ. So welcome, everyone. We're really excited to have all of you with us, and we're going to dive right in. I think the reason we're here today is to share with you a specific model that we've built here at Joveo, which we call the AI Transformation Playbook. And let's face it, most talent acquisition leaders are caught between being really excited about what AI can do, but I think also really overwhelmed by where to start or where to begin. And that's exactly why we built this playbook, to kind of cut through that confusion, give you a realistic starting point that actually makes sense for you, makes sense for your team, the people that you're responsible for. As with all transformations, you don't need to transform everything overnight. You just need to take that first step somewhere that'll actually move the needle for you. And I think, as we all know, starting small but starting smart is usually much better than watching from the sidelines while everyone else figures this out. You don't want to be on that laggard part of the curve. And I think we've also observed that every company's situation is different. Every one of us, every one of you, uh, would need a different playbook. And so when we looked at putting this together, what we said was the right place to start was focus most on what are the main problems you're trying to solve. Start with the art of problem solving in general. And if you know what those problems are, start with writing them down. Use the Pareto rule to prioritize, the 80-20 rule. Go do some research on solutions. Maybe that's why you're with us today. Figure out what's out there in the marketplace. And as you gain a bit of confidence, you start learning, you can start testing, run a pilot, work with someone to try and explore how to fix one of those problems. What are a couple of small tasks that you can experiment with automating with AI, where you can start training and empowering your own people? And as you build up that knowledge, you can start looking at potentially automating an entire workflow or a set of workflows. Building at that point some guardrails also becomes really important. And as you go along through all of those steps, how do you measure those results, make sure that you're meeting the goals that you'd set out for yourselves? And of course, constantly optimizing based on data and feedback from your teams, from the people that you're supporting, from the processes that you're trying to automate. And I know here at Joveo, KJ is obsessed with solving our clients' problems and doing it better than anyone else. And so, what we want to do in the next part of our session is really take a look at some of the problems we've heard from some of the amazing employers around the world that we get to work with, including Wells Fargo. And as we go along, Ryan, I would love for you and for you, KJ, to share your thoughts and insights on some of the things that we've heard. Let me go to the first set here. This is a set of problem statements that we've heard around the talent funnel. Ron, would love to hear a little bit from you on which of these you hear the most about or that you tend to deal with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Yaz. And first of all, thank you for everybody for joining us. And good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, or wherever you are in the world today. There's so many great opportunities on this slide. It's hard to just pick one. For me, something I experienced firsthand is the candidates and recruiters are continuing to be ghosted. And I know how frustrating that can be. Experience that for myself. Whether you're putting yourself out there as a candidate or a recruiter investing time in outreach, getting ghosted is disheartening. And I recently shared some of my thoughts on a LinkedIn blog post, but it's clear that there's a communications breakdown in the hiring on both sides, and it's hurting both sides of this. And so what we need to be able to do as organizations, as leaders, is foster a more respectful and transparent hiring process, ensuring timely follow-ups, and being honest with feedback that will help build lasting and trusted relationships with yourself, your recruiting teams, and for your organization. And one of the things I think about how do you do that is, as we go throughout today, I'm going to anchor back into this is talk about 3 to 4 or 5 key moments in your recruiting process that you and your team want to anchor in. And maybe that's being more transparent on your career site with the application and interview process. In the past, I've called it with my teams our candidate bill of rights. The team is bought into it. And then we display it on our career site, and it's what to expect as you go through the process. And so that is maybe one problem that's really resonated with me, yeah, as we talk about some of these things we've heard.
And maybe I'll share another set of questions here. KJ, maybe over to you as we take a look at some of these problem statements or questions that we've heard around fear and readiness. Wonder what comes to mind for you or what stands out for you.
I think I would say that our work with the current ecosystem environment is so overwhelming already, right? We don't need more on our plates, right? As practitioners, I'm sure these are very challenging times. And lo and behold, right, there's an AI. Got to do something about it, right? It's another thing on the plate. And I realized within my team and within the ecosystem, there is a bit of this two things pulling you apart. I got to do something, but I don't know how and what, and I don't know whether it is a right or a wrong thing. And I'm not going to try and suggest what is the right and wrong thing. I think you should not even think of AI. You should think of the task that you want to look at automating or getting better at. Like every real life problems need to be translated into how AI can help me get more insights and make me do better. But one thing I would say is in this entire process, we forget about, right? Is it really controlled? Is it are you really having a clue on what AI is going to do? And that I would like to be an advisor and consultant here and say, do not do anything in AI unless the cardinal rule of AI can explain why it's making a decision, right? Because if somebody says, hey, it's a magic thing, you put this and something will come out, can't explain, don't trust that. There are some safety guardrails, right? Some gold standards like EU AI Act. Ask your vendor partner, do you comply with that? Is there a third party audit that's happening out there? Please test it exhaustively yourself, play with it. Like if you're writing job descriptions, ask stupid questions, making sure that everything is contained. Because let me tell you, the downside of not doing it right and not having good control on it could wreak havoc in your organization. And I'm talking about company level, not just an individual, job title or for your role. If something wrong goes out, it goes right to the CEO of the organizations, and it includes a bad PR. So the fear comes from what if it goes rogue, and I've seen that. We were in conversation with the largest hospital systems in the US. They brought their AI leader of the company to basically talk to us and see everything through. And he said, nobody in this ecosystem meets the bar. And they said, you guys have the most safety and guardrails out there. But the point here is, please invest in that as well, right? This is my advice because this is a real problem, right? And let's not make small of this problem. So put guardrails around it, test it yourself, pick one thing at a time. If you do 10 things, it's so hard to figure out where to put guardrails around it. This is just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I couldn't
No, I
agree
think that's a
more.
really great point, KJ. And Ryan, I wonder if you can share your thoughts on this as well. And while you're thinking about that, for those of you in the audience, we would also love to hear from you if there are some of these problem statements that we've just shown over the last few minutes that resonate with you. If it's something that you're worried about or something that you are trying to solve or have solved, we'd love to learn about it if you want to put those thoughts in the chat. But Ryan would also like to hear what your thoughts on this are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more by some of KJ's comments and his point of view. But one of the things I think is AI is kind of an overused word right now. It is the buzzword, right? I think of this not as just AI, but optimization. You can go back 10 years. We were doing things, whether it was job distribution or other things within process to optimize and using technology to do that. I think that the same way is. But AI is advancing quickly and it can feel daunting and even intimidating. While we don't all have the answers, I don't think there is an AI expert out there. What I've committed to my team is leading through authenticity and learning alongside my team. And the best way to bridge that gap is being practical, getting hands-on, and creating simple steps like hosting workshops, experiment, and with the AI-powered tools. And one great example that I actually experienced this week with one of my team members was She was looking ways within her role that she could make a great impact. And what she did was she, using Copilot, took her job description, our team goals, and then asked Copilot with a few prompts, how can I be better in my role based on my job description and our goals and strategic initiatives? And what was great about what Copilot provided back was a response and a solid framework, giving her some fresh insights and a direction, a North Star to move forward. From there, she continued to refine it, asking it additional prompts. And what it ended up pinpointing was practical steps that she could use in the back half of this year to help drive some of her key initiatives forward. I thought it was a great way to leverage AI to make yourself better and feel more ready to be act and do.
And one
I
of
think
the
that's a great point, and I wanted to just pause here because we have a question that's already come through. And by the way, for our audience, and I know there's a bunch of you that want to ask questions. I misspoke earlier. Please put them in the Q&A function. There's two tabs there, chat and Q&A. Use the Q&A function, and we'll be able to grab your questions from there. But Sandesh, who's with us today, is asking. We advertise across several platforms. How do we know which channels are driving the best results and which aren't? Which of you wants to answer that one?
Ryan, you want to go first and I can go second?
Yeah, I feel like we're stealing a little bit of the thunder for what we're about to talk about. So you must have had a sneak peek, but I think AI can help bridge a lot of gaps in just even taking the data from your different sources. And using AI, you can provide yourself with AI-powered analytics real time to give you visibility into which sourcing channels are providing the highest quality hires, traffic, and those things. And it will also help you identify and analyze, the workflows and pinpoint where there might be bottlenecks. And so I think you can take your raw data and you can drop it into different AI systems and be able to use that and leverage that to help you start to narrow in on what sources are working. But I'd love to hear from KJ because you live in this daily as well.
Sure. I think we could have a whole 1 hour session on this, talking about this, but I would say let's keep it simple, right? First, make sure that you have the access to the right information. Could you say that by each source, that means every single destination where a job is published, the entire journey of the candidate from there on to a hire, can you map it? If you can map it, you don't need AI for that, right? It's a very simple integration problem. At least you get to see where things are wrong, right? And I'm talking about every single step. I mean, right from the click, not just apply, start, and apply, finish. Every single stage of the apply process, which questions they're dropping it on. And once you know that, then the technology partner you work with should be able to make recommendations using AI. And I use the word recommendations. If you change this, this will change. If you did this, this will change. AI could therefore work and say, okay, these sources are optimized to best cost per hire or quality of hire or quality of applications and automatically optimize for that without a human hand lending in and doing it themselves. So to make it very simple, let's have the data speak to us. Then we tell our systems and partners what to do about it. My worry is that what we deal typically in our ecosystem of recruitment marketing is we deal with black boxes. Everything's blended in, right? Separate Indeed organic from Indeed paid, right? Know if your social is working at a job level. There are many job boards or destinations which are giving you very cheap cost per application, right? But you see the conversions are the poorest from click to start. Whereas some would give you higher cost per application, but give you great conversions. The great conversions also point to higher quality. Now, these are the insights at a job level, at a source level. It's very hard for human to find out. So can AI draw out outliers and say, these are the outliers and this is the reason why? Let that be an agent that works for you to keep you more informed. And we can go on a lot about it, but I would just stop over here. There's so much more that can be done. So, yeah.
And I love the mention of agents, KJ, because I think that's also so important to some of the automation of workflows that we're talking about. I've moved over to another set of problem statements around quality and bias. And so my perspective is out of all three, and they're all super important, especially the first one for so many of the employers we talk to. But I think as a potential job seeker and candidate myself, It's really the third one that I think a lot of folks are concerned about, it's one of many examples where it's really important to be careful with AI. KJ talked a lot about guardrails, but it's also about being aware in the general marketplace outside of talent acquisition. Everybody's learning, and we're all learning at the pace of innovation. So that means a lot of things happening very quickly and a lot of things getting thrown at us. And one of the elements that we are hearing about, and we're seeing large and small providers, whether they're in our space, the talent acquisition space or not, dealing with pre-trained bias because for a lot of large language models, they're being trained on existing content. And the type of content they're provided, whether it's images or text, uh, has inherent bias based on what was fed to it and what the source of that is. One of the statistics that we heard recently is 20% of African Americans think that AI recruitment is going to lead to a worsening of racial bias. So there's definitely concerns in the working population around these things. I think there's concerns amongst employers, and especially during the candidate screening or the selection process, where there's already inherent bias in certain cases. This simply becomes a multiplier of that. And I'm curious to know, again, if you could put your thoughts in the Q&A, what you're seeing for our friends in the audience. Definitely add your thoughts there or questions you have around that. But before we move on, Ryan or KJ, anything you wanted to add on any of these 3 points?
I think I can just say that ask your partner or vendor, how are they building their AI? Are they putting some random variables in that constantly to test if it is how it's treating those variables? These are not real, but just to make sure that it keeps on testing it. And by the way, right, we don't intend to finish this entire presentation. We're hoping that there'll be enough questions, there'll be interactions, and we'll talk about it. So please ask your questions. We'd love to answer that, and that might be the better way.
Well, I think what we're going to do next is, we can't address all of these problems in just this session, but we want to share 3 that we hear the most. One is about drop-offs in the apply process. One is about how hard it can be to pull insights out of the data that you have. And the third, I think, which a lot of employers struggle with, is how to attract talent outside of the job board world. And so we're going to cover these 3 problems over the next 15 or 20 minutes. Let me start with the drop off in the apply process. Ryan, I think I want to start with you. How do you approach this? How would you approach this? If you can spend a few minutes sharing that with us. And while he's doing that again, for those of you listening, if this is something that is an attention point for you, we'd also love to hear from you in the Q&A section, what you're doing or any questions that you have on the topic of apply drop-off. But Ryan, would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, candidate drop off is a persistent challenge in hiring, and isn't today. It's always been, right? And that's often caused by lengthy applications, slow response times, unclear communication. And I think AI or optimization can help streamline a lot of this in the process and keep candidates engaged. What you see on the screen here is an example of how you can dig deep with AI and looking at your drop-off rates across components of your apply process. This may be different for everybody, right? Sign up, depending on your provider, your ATS provider, your technology, sign up might be your biggest component. But there are some simple prompts, taking the data and dropping it into your AI agent where you can ask it questions. So simplifying the application process. AI-powered chatbots can help guide candidates through application in a conversational way. We can help reduce complexity and frustration by allowing conversational chatbots to ask questions. What are the benefits like? What's the application process like? Instead of long forms, we can use this to quickly create efficiencies and speed up the process. And just by doing some of these simple things and just looking at this data through a different lens can help reduce your job ad spend almost 2 to 3x. But as we dig a little bit deeper, I think each challenge that you see here on the screen identifies a clear solution to address it. For example, if the application has too many questions, consider streamlining it by removing unnecessary fields. If that's not an option, right, restructuring the sequence can be a big thing. Moving the sign in to the back of the back and making that forced login could be something that you can do and ensure higher completion rates. Additionally, what I think you can also add in elements of is automating follow-ups, creating those different moments that matter through the application process, not just the standard thanks for your application, but even almost like when you do something and you order through DoorDash or Uber Eats, like you get a notification that, hey, the restaurant has received your order. And sometimes you even get it to say, hey, the employee is making your pizza. Providing those different prompts throughout the process, hey, the recruiter is reviewing your resume, can give a sense of calmness and peace to the candidate. You can also use it to enhance screening and matching, optimizing interview scheduling, right? So taking some of that mundane work out of your recruiters and simply allowing the chat or the AI and the optimization to speed up those things. And then I think where I'm most excited about AI and optimization is the personalizing the engagement and tailoring communications to each candidate that makes it feel personal and meaningful throughout the process. And I think a lot of this will solve for some of the things we talked about, like with ghosting and other things. But again, you don't have to have AI or technology to do some of the simplest things. One of those things that I've implemented in my past is a thing called Friday Philosophy. And that is an activity that the recruiter does every Friday with all of their candidates and their hiring leaders. And they are providing a personalized update very quickly to the candidate about where we're at in process and what our next steps. And so it might be as simply as, hey, candidate, happy Friday. Hope you're ready for the weekend. We are still interviewing candidates in this round. We hope to complete by next Tuesday, but you're still in play. And we will update you by next week as we progress forward. And what I've saw through that is tremendous increase on our NPS scores and improved metrics and our candidate ratings across different sentiment ratings. And by leveraging AI in the process and using that, you can create more efficiencies and reduce drop off and overall the candidate experience.
I think it's a great example too, Ryan, of the human and machine collaboration, or the human in the loop collaboration, because so much of what we're hearing in the market is about, the old trope about AI replacing this or that or us. But I think what we're going to see for the foreseeable future is much more the work in tandem, and the collaboration is going to make it the most effective. I know we have
one final point I would say to that, because I think you hit it on the head, like the fear that recruiters have. What I'm talking about with the recruiters I interact with is AI technology optimization. I want that to remove the mundane and those transactional activities that you have to do day in and day out. And I want you to do what you love to do best, which is spending time with candidates and making those moments that matter really important. And then so that's what I hope that the fear starts to subdue for recruiters is we want to make you better, and we want to put you in front of candidates more often and better in a better way and help you shine.
Absolutely. KJ, I think you wanted to jump in as well.
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to stop and not talk about this. This is conversion is a topic very close to my heart because if you look at it is a direct relationship with candidate experience. And candidate experience is a topic that is near and dear to every single one of us. I have not met a TA practitioner who has not really believed in it. Now, how does anybody help you in understanding where it's going wrong, right? I can share with you two tips or two tricks. Yes, if you want to go 2 slides back. And you
Sure.
see that someone is showing you great insight. Hey, where your drop off is happening, Ryan did a great job of telling you, well, what can you do to change it? But if you see on the top right over here, show optimized state, right? What good looks like. Is technology telling you if you were to change this, this is what's going to happen, right? Ask for that, right? What if? I think AI helps us understand the what ifs and the whys better than we ever understood it. And please ask those questions. Does it tell me that? If you go to the next slide, and I have just one more point to make over there. What we have realized, so there are about 7 out of 10 people who apply to jobs actually apply to the wrong job in the right company. Let that sink in. So in the end of the apply process, if your AI is smart and can tell you these are the 3 or 4 jobs you're a better fit or a match at, maybe it's a wrong location they applied for. Maybe it's a If you're a restaurant worker, you applied for just a wrong job. Maybe you're a system analyst applying for a database administrator, and so on and so forth. I can give you hundreds of examples. So could you surface that up to a candidate and say, hey, your application is complete. It's just one click. You apply to this job, because if it is not applied to, there's a high chance recruiters are not going to even have a look at that person. So when we did something like that, we saw that there are about two times as much hires that happened. So the company was able to reduce the number of applications needed by about 30 to 50%. The last but not the least, if you go back, go forward, yes. The one thing I would say is, uh, imagine you're spending $100,000, right? And you're getting 1,000 applications. Uh, all the people, let's say 100,000 people, click on the jobs. Everybody has an intention to apply. Of course, barring few percentage here and there who are just clicking and just exploring, but most of the people have an intent to apply. But why is it that only 7% of those end up applying? Because of the bottlenecks we have put on the road. Imagine you were to get the same number of applications by only half as many clicks or third as many clicks. What that means is you can reduce your advertising spend and budget by 70%. That's $30,000-$40,000 to get the same outcome. So all the job advertising spend, we are focusing on the wrong place sometimes. We should be focusing on improving the conversions. And if you ever, and this is the last thought I'll give you, and I know we're going a little bit forward on this. If you ever want to learn the candidate experience, and if you know any of your teenagers, your kids, your nephews, your neighbors, give them $5, $10, right? Ask them to apply to your job in your company, and just ask them how do they feel. And teenagers, they're good at answering how do they feel. They'll give you the reality, right? You'll understand what is it that this generation that is looking for, right? The Gen Z's, their mindset is. And that is something, an eye opener for me when I ask my kids to do something. So, and if you incorporate just their feedback, you're talking about 3 to 5x conversions in your apply process alone if you make them do it, and just observe them. Sorry, go ahead. And by the way, we did for one of our clients, we had 3x as many conversions in less than 2 months. And by the way, it was not like we had checked all the boxes of every optimization that could have been done.
Yeah, and I think this is a callback to what Ryan was mentioning earlier, that if you have an ATS provider where the very, very, very first moment after you click apply is what we call forced login, this is exactly what we're talking about solving for here. Let me move on to the next major problem statement that we wanted to cover. 3 out of 4 employers can't see the performance of their campaigns or the money that they're spending at the source level. Ryan, I know this is a big problem. We hear this all the time from employers. How can folks address this? And again, for those of you in our audience, please share any questions you have on this topic, or if this is something you're addressing, we'd love to learn from you how you're doing it and what you're doing. But Ryan, over to you.
Yeah, this one is, I title this slide like, are you seeing the whole picture? Because, AI has skyrocketed application volume, but I don't think just put it on AI. I mean, look at the economic climate we are in and what companies are going through with some reductions in force and things like that. And yet the struggle is real for recruiters. Hundreds of applications, and you only shortlist a handful, right? And if you don't have a full view of what's going on, you don't know where you're failing. And so candidates come from everywhere: job boards, social media, branding, referrals, your internal database. But are you really tracking it all in one place? And I think this is one of the things I feel the most is the disfragmented silos of systems between my ATS, my CRM, my vendor data, whether it's database data, et cetera, and it's all fragmented and it's not highly visible. And so one of the things that we constantly are trying to work through as leaders is transparency matters. But did we really know that about 50 cents of every dollar we spend on advertising actually goes towards attracting candidates? The hidden fees, markups, inefficiencies that drain budgets without delivering results. You should be able to see what exactly you're paying for, right? And it goes beyond much the cost. Do you see the full candidate journey? Where are people dropping off, as we talked about a few slides ago? Which job posting stalls in the pipeline, right? Where do companies take screening twice as long than others? AI can help surface those insights, pinpoint those red flags, and highlight the exact action of where you need to go. a true end-to-end view isn't a luxury anymore, I don't think, and it's a necessity. And because you can't see the problem, you definitely can't fix it. So there are other insights that they have to be listed here. But what other questions I would love to hear from the group as well? Like, what other questions do you think we should be asking ourselves? And let's talk about them in the chat.
And we actually have a question that just came in. This is a member of our audience who's leading talent acquisition actually for a major US staffing business. Uh, they already use AI for resume screening and matching, but adoption is kind of a challenge. And so the question they have is, how do we recommend we assess our AI maturity across different TA functions and align it with business outcomes like submission speed, like quality of hire, like efficiency of redeployment? Which one of you wants to start with that? How do you recommend we assess our AI maturity across different TA functions? I know we're going to talk about AI maturity towards the end of our session in a little bit of detail, but a couple of recommendations you might have?
So I would love for you to spend time with a colleague of mine. Her name is Jennifer Smith. She is a practitioner. She spent her entire life in a staffing business in leadership positions. And they have a maturity model. She has a maturity model at every single step. That if you're doing this, you are at this maturity model, and this is what you need to do to go from X to Y and Y to Z. And it's like, it's not a playbook, it's like a guidebook to say that these are the three things, and this is how you do what you do to get to that. Now, from an adoption standpoint, basically make it look like what good looks like, right? Find one person in your team. I was talking to a client, and we were having the same challenge. He said, I want to build something, some task automations, but yeah, I don't know, my team is not getting it. I said, find one champion, create a pod, and that one champion is the one who does it. Now everybody looks at that person and say, this is what success looks like, this is what this person has done to achieve a certain outcome. And everybody would want to know more, because it's a FOMO, right? That people lead people to learning something. So I would be very happy to have Jennifer have a conversation with you, and take you through every single, basically go deep into the problem statement and be an advisor. Think of like a McKinsey consultant to come from outside, but being from the business, and share with you exactly for your problem statement how to define and assess the outcomes and the impact.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the question. At the end of our session, we're going to share our contact information. In fact, we'll share KJ's email, and you can reach out to us directly, and we'll be very happy to connect you with Jennifer and continue that conversation. And Ryan, I wanted to throw it back to you to just finish out your point around extracting insights from data.
Yeah, if you are tracking the hiring outcomes of your recruitment marketing efforts, some of the things you have to be clear about it in a high level view is like how many applicants you're actually getting, right? I'm sure there are even fewer that we may not have visibility to, but just scratching the surface, if you truly optimize your hiring process, and again, you do not have to fix the full end to end. I talk about fix the 5 key moments that matter for you. And as we talk about the AI maturity, maybe there's a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The first phase might be a simple process change. No technology or optimization needed, but you changing the process that allows you to get to that next level. And then you could get to phase 2. Maybe that is an automated process. And then phase 3 might be that AI introduction into that step. But some of where AI can help bridge some of the gaps here as we look at this screen and looking at some of our source to hire is AI-powered analytics can help provide real-time visibility into where your sourcing channels yield the highest quality hires, even helping you reallocate some of your resources more effectively. But it also helps you identify the bottlenecks, as I mentioned earlier. But automating the data collection and reporting, AI can help do that by integrating with your ATS, your CRM, and maybe some of your other vendors and partners, and helping you be more predictive into candidate behavior, forecasting where applicants may come from, who are most likely to convert, and all of that information will help you make more informed decisions and leveraging it in your recruitment marketing campaigns and helping ensure that every dollar that you're spending is optimized and driving meaningful results.
I'm going to go skip to our third problem statement. I know we were going to add more stuff there, but I want to make sure we have enough time to cover everything. So let me just go to the third problem statement, which is struggling to attract talent outside of job boards. this is the last one we want to talk about, and then we're going to go back to the playbook. But I think the reality is passive talent doesn't hang out on job boards. And I think we've known that for 20 years. Full disclosure, to give you a sense of the level of expertise that's on this call, the three people that are speaking to you, we all started our careers at monster.com. So at that time, 30 years ago, they just had their 30th anniversary. That was the new hot thing. But today, job seekers don't live on job boards, especially the ones that you're after, the passive, high quality ones. Where are they hanging out? We know where everybody lives and doesn't want to admit they spend hours of screen time. It's on social media, it's on search engines, they're on destination sites. We don't have to look too much into the data because they are we. So we know where we spend our time. And employers generally don't do a good job of leveraging those channels to attract and to convert talent. There's this kind of, dare I say to be provocative, lazy attitude that if I'm looking for job seekers, I must go to job boards. And I don't think that's accurate at all. Ryan, I wonder what your thoughts are on that, and then would love to hear from you as well, KJ.
Well, first of all, thanks for dating us by telling the 30-year-old monster story and all of that. But yes, we do go way back with all of that. But I think as you talk about this, and I think this is a great slide that represents some of the things that we've talked about today, right? Not all recruitment sources are going to perform equally. And, since I joined Wells Fargo, it's been interesting to see what actually sources are performing well for us today that I didn't think would perform well, right? And so it's very interesting based on the talent and the things that we are attracting. But without some clear insights, it's tough to know where your budget is actually driving results. And when I think about four key metrics that I am trying to look at about optimizing hiring, it's things like impressions, like how many people are seeing your postings. Let's start there. Like that's the easiest one. Like, am I getting eyes on my opportunities? Then you look through traffic, like how many clicks and how much are actually engaged, right? How many actually are driving applicants? And then you can look at hires and how many are actually converting. But the challenge is your sourcing channels are scattered, job boards, social media referrals, career sites, etc. But you have to find a way to create a unified view. And that's what I love about this shot here is it provides a unified view of the impact and giving you some of the insights of how things are performing.
So Ryan and KJ, this is a good moment to look at another question that we've received because I think it's very related. We had one of our audience members ask, okay, AI offers fantastic benefits, but we're increasingly hearing that people want greater transparency around how results are generated. How do you see this evolving?
Great question. Ryan, if I may.
Yeah, please do. And it looks like a planted question, but it's not. I can see who submitted it. So it's actually someone with a major employer.
So was there ever an insight or what kind of messaging resonates, right? What drives that outcome? Just what you think is the right messaging may not turn out to be the right messaging. I've seen the results from X to 3X, 3 to 4 times the results, right? From that standpoint alone. Understanding the fact, not understanding, realizing the fact that all these companies that you see on the left side, Instagram, Facebook, Google, TikTok, they are AI powerhouses, right? There's no bigger than them in the AI. They have their algorithms fine-tuned to the extent that I don't think anybody in our industry will get there in 10 years' time. So why don't we figure out a way and sync with them in such a way that their AI recommends what would it take for us or you to get your specific job ad, right? That specific job title and a job ad for a job location, get the kind of results they want to get. Are you being told about it? Is that insight, is that education coming in? A good partner is the one who'd come and say, this is what I'm hearing from TikTok through their AI algorithms, that if this were to be done, this will happen. So all you have to do sometimes is ask, all you have to do sometimes is push and say, if I don't understand how it works, I won't do it. Sorry, Ryan.
No, yeah, there was a lot in that question. Do you mind repeating it just because I think there was so much there to unpack and KJ covered a lot of it. I just want to make sure I center back into that.
Yeah. So the question was, I mean, the main question was about transparency. I'm just trying to go back to the question. Yeah, AI offers fantastic benefits. We're increasingly hearing that people want greater transparency around how results are generated.
Yeah, so I think that is a great question, right? And I think as AI matures itself, the data gets cleaner and as it learns, right? As it empowers. But I think there are some opportunities where we can leverage it to get to some of the easy answers, the surface level things that make meaningful results and opportunities to change. One of the questions that I'm looking through and having AI help me with is CPQA, so optimizing my cost per quality application, right? And required it from traditional recruitment metrics, and it's a mind shift for me, and it's a mindset change where I'm using AI to help me rely on optimizing the data I have and then focusing on things like quality over quantity. And so the way I'm doing that is I'm looking at my funnel ratios, and I'm using that to optimize my spend. But again, transparency, I think you can use that throughout the process and through automation. Again, I talk about that real-time updates and how do we provide those candidates those opportunities to understand where they're at in the process. I think there's many different applications for transparency wherever we go.
I think there's two really interesting questions that have also just come in, and they are slightly related. And I think they're probably riffing off when I was talking about passive candidates spending time on social media. So I'm going to read you both of them, and then you can decide how you want to answer them. So the first one is from Parker Smith, who says, as recruitment professionals, we're often the face of the organization that we represent. How can AI help empower recruiters, sourcers, TA leaders to evangelize on their social channels like LinkedIn, especially if they're not well versed or adept in social media? And then the second question is from Pradeep Nair, who says, if we want to break into social media as a serious channel to attract top talent, especially passive candidates, where do we start? Can you spend a few minutes explaining how you build the right strategy and what early success metrics you should track?
So I can take the first question from Parker. I think that's a great one. And this is something that we live daily with the job I'm joining and trying to provide authentic storytelling and share the story of Wells Fargo. There are opportunities, whether it's AI, technology, or optimization, that you can leverage to help expand your message outside beyond LinkedIn. Maybe it's X, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's even Instagram or TikTok, right? There's a couple things that I'm focused on. One is providing more authentic user-generated content to provide more meaningful and tangible stories to our candidates. But how do you distribute that? Like AI, there's technology and tools that I'm actually exploring, don't have it today, where AI will auto-generate content based on different themes, well-being, philanthropy, maybe even just job postings. And it's already generated and loaded into a queue that allows recruiters, sourcers, TA leaders, and even hiring leaders to go into that tool, choose the content that resonates with them, and through a click of a button, distribute that content out to their social profiles through that instant connectivity. And then as you see, as the system gathers the interactions, it starts to understand what is resonating and what messaging is resonating with those candidates, and it starts to auto adjust. So as it reloads new content, AI is now adjusting based on what is driving results. And I think that's one way, but I'd love to hear from KJ on what he is seeing in the marketplace.
So I'll continue to on what you're saying, Ryan. I think when recruiters or sources, they are dealing with a ton of jobs at any point of time, right? And they may have 4 channels. So let's say they're dealing with 12 jobs, there are 4 social channels, and these jobs keep on coming and going out, right? Now they want to propagate the message on social media. Let's call that as a problem statement, a very small problem statement. Could there be a tool or a plugin or just a click, like Ryan said, that automatically takes a job? And this is, by the way, not your enterprise social channels where there's a lot of guardrails and what you say, you cannot say, what you can change, but they have their own community of people, their own reach. And just literally that one click, if they are integrated in that. If you have a system, your job advertising partner is integrated with that, those things can be populated on the social channels with access rights, of course, in real time. So now that spreads a message, right? If you have 100 recruiters and everybody has, let's say, in a social channel put together 10,000 connections, now it's about 10 million distribution that you can generate. And this is a simple thing as just making sure it gets distributed. Now, this is important, right? I'm just focusing on distribution over here. But like Ryan said, right, giving them an insight on what kind of right messaging. A lot of times people don't distribute it. They don't even know what to post, how to post. So we a tool that can take a job and say, this is the right post. This is the right post that looks like, right? It takes your brand value, your company's tone and voice, so that even if a recruiter is posting through personal channels, it resonates that. So those are the things you can do. And these tools, right? If you have a good consultant advisor as a partner, then you should ask them and say, hey, find me something like this, right, that I can use. And then they should be able to come in and bring it to you on the table.
Awesome. Thank you. We're going to come back to questions in just a moment, but Ryan, I wanted to just continue down the path you were heading when we were talking about attracting talent outside of job boards.
Yeah, recruitment success isn't always about just launching a campaign, right? And campaign could be some sponsored jobs. It could be posting on social. I think it's about continuously refining your strategy to attract the right candidates, right? If your hiring funnel isn't delivering, here's some things you can think about. And I love what's on the screen here because I think, again, these are tangible of here's my problem statement, here's what I can do. But you can start to do things like real-time performance tracking. Like AI will help you consolidate across your platforms, giving you that visibility to drive the best results. It can also be predictive for you, where it's providing a forecast of trends. It could also be help you automate from a predictiveness, like, hey, you should post this job on LinkedIn and on Facebook because based on past interactions and engagement and apply ratios, these are your best two sources. So you're not having to cast such a wide or larger net. But it'll also help you automate some of your costs, breaking down your efficiencies. And then what it will also help you do is source to hire mapping, helping you predict your candidates from first interaction to final hiring and how to optimize your process and remove some of those bottlenecks. And all of this will help you move beyond the guesswork and making more informed data-driven decisions, which is, I think, all of us want as leaders, and improving the hiring efficiency. But one thing I think you must consider as I kind of wrap up is optimizing your job descriptions to drive higher quality click-through rates, right? That will help attract more qualified applicants. When a recruiter, and you can use AI Copilot, I do it today, right? As I'm doing an intake with a hiring manager, I'm listening for what are the selling points of the role. Is it the team and the contribution, the collaboration? Is it the tech stack that you're working with? Is it the company and the benefits? As I hear about all of those things, I put that in there and I provide, Copilot with, hey, here's my job description. Here are some selling points. Create me a quick social media post or create me 5 bullet points that I can sell candidates on it as I'm doing my recruiter phone screens. And those things will help you increase your conversions. I think you're on mute, yes.
And by the way, Pradeep, I don't think we answered your question, but we'll come back to it. So just wanted to acknowledge that. I think we answered Parker's question. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, KJ, I was saying I wanted to know what you wanted to add to Ryan's points, and I know you also wanted to share this important customer story from one of the largest staffing firms in the world that we work with.
Interestingly, we found out that let's say you're hiring for nurses or accountants or mechanics, and you say, hey, mechanics, right? And this is exactly what any big job board also does. When they do social media, they will say nurses, and you click on that, you come to a page where 200 jobs from 200 different companies are listed out there. People do not resonate with that, right? Now, an intelligent consumer marketing firm would know exactly what a person does and put a very relevant ad right in front of that person. That sophistication is what makes that industry far ahead of ours industry. So now imagine doing the same thing, right? Do not, this is the wrong word. My suggestion is that if you create a social campaign where everybody's landing on a landing page and then you're creating them to click on a job, you're creating extra loop. But if you can actually put a right job, let's say you're looking for a trauma nurse, or you're looking for, in a hard to fill location, or delivery driver. And then on Spotify, that ad comes right in front of that person who is a delivery driver for a competing company and just clicks on it. Now that person, when that person looks at the ad, feels that it is relevant. It is meant for that person. What we didn't realize is how much of an impact that would be, right? So we did this experiment about 4.5 years back. We started doing that actually in Europe, in Germany. Because in Germany, the ecosystem is such that people do not want to put their resumes in a database. They want to be able to see and apply. And we saw that not only we were getting higher or more relevant people clicking through that, but it was actually beating some of the mainstream job boards in conversions. And I would say that overall, they eventually pivoted, and we have now done it with a lot of our US large enterprise customers. And we started seeing a huge amount of conversion improvement. But the most important part of it is hard to fill roles in locations where you say, hey, there is only 5,000 people in this town. I have to hire 100 people. What do I do? Right? There's not so much, I want so many people. There are only so many in the United States. Can you go with pinpoint accuracy? Know who those people are and put a right job in front of them. And that is the interesting part of it. Now imagine you have silver medalist, right? You have 5,000 silver medalists for a certain type of role. You can find every single other person in the universe who's a lookalike, and you can put a right ad in front of them. Now, this is where your social strategy should be. Please do not spray and pray, right? Please just don't put some behavioral targeting and say, just throw it out there. And then what you're going to get is 90% junk.
I think, KJ, this story around this very famous staffing company is directly related to what Pradeep was asking. So let me ask his question again and see if we can address it. He was saying that if we want to break into social media as a serious channel to attract top talent, especially passive, can we explain a little bit how to build the right strategy and what early success metrics we should track?
So I would say, it's important in life sometimes to know what not to do than what to do. So I would say, don't spray and pray, right? That's the first thing I do. Know that you have a very high degree of accuracy in front of who you're reaching out. The first leading indicator, what you say is early success metric, is going to be the engagement rates, the reaction, right? Of course, hires are going to come in a month or two later, whenever that happens. And the conversions are a very important piece, right? Don't be dismayed by a higher cost initially, because social media always optimizes over a period of time, right? Unlike job boards where you get X and you continue to get X, it doesn't optimize over a period of time. You would see that your Google campaign might be giving you, if you're looking at a CPA lead gen, which is only a few people, few agents in the world will have access to, will give you maybe $50 CPA. But it will improve as it learns, because you're giving a conversion metric to where the conversion is a quality conversion. Maybe it's a shortlist conversion. It will learn from that, and over a period of time, you see it's coming 25. So initial cost estimate is a bad metric. Conversion metric is good metric. Engagement metric is a good metric, and please focus on that, and you would perhaps be on the right path.
Excellent. Thank you, KJ. There's also, by the way, we're live on LinkedIn right now. So hello, LinkedIn. And we have a question from Aditya, who's been watching us on LinkedIn. And Aditya is asking, with the increasing use of AI generated or automated resumes, how does Joveo or the platforms that you integrate with distinguish between fake applications and real candidate profiles? And are there specific machine learning models or behavioral signals that help in identifying who the real people are, who the authentic candidates are?
On average, I've seen 5 to 10 times more applications. Please understand wherever so, easy apply is actually a good thing, but easy apply means that it's also easy for AI to do what it has to do, right? Long form applications makes it harder for AI, but now AI is getting more sophisticated. Who can identify which is AI and which is not? AI itself, right? So and trust me, we have been able to see with about 95% accuracy based on just the keywords that are being used. There's a pattern to which algorithm is created, that this is an AI application. And the way I would do it is, we were having a very in-depth brainstorming conversation. Some of your screening questions in Easy Apply, put up false positive questions. So if you're expecting a yes as an answer, make no as the right answer. You get me right? Like, can you lift more than 50 pounds, right? So you can put an answer where, well, like less than 50 pounds, is that a problem? And then and let the AI think yes is the right answer, because that's the default thinking. So many ways to build this cat, but I would say have an AI layer on top of it to skim through all your applications, your easy apply applications that they are, before you re-engage with them to get into your ATS, is the way I would say it.
Thank you, KJ. Well, look, we invited all of you to join us because we wanted to talk to you about how to build your personal AI transformation playbook. So let's come back to that again. This is the framework that we shared with you at the beginning that you can follow to build your own personal playbook. We told you that it's important to make it your own for each step and to really start down with writing your problems. But as a takeaway for you, we've also created an AI maturity model for talent acquisition. And one of our questions was about identifying where you are on an AI maturity model or on that spectrum. And we've specifically created this to help you, to help TA leaders and TA teams figure out what is your current level of recruiting AI? What is your current level of being able to enable or make informed decisions? Or what's your current level of effective adoption? So if you have tools, are you using them? Is it working? And with this model, we're hoping that this will start to give you some clarity so you can start to move from experimentation, so those early stages, picking a few problems, testing them out, figuring out where your team stands today. How do you uncover inefficiencies? And then what do you want to prioritize as areas for investment? I hope you don't mind the some of the copyright infringement we've indulged in with some of the icons, but it's really to make us self-aware. And we recently did a workshop at Unleash along with Ryan and a number of other practitioners. We had 30 people in the room. Ryan, what was it? I think almost 90% self-identified as which one? Was it King Louis?
Yep, King Louis stage two, right? And so I think what I loved about that session, and is I'm gonna steal the mic for a second from Yaz. One of the next things that, and it's right here on the screen, that I encourage everybody to take is the assessment itself. But what you're going to get back is something that I think we took from that room are those steps and that action plan. And this is why I think, as a plug to Joveo and Yaz and KJ's, they've been a great partner for me, and they've been actually kind of my Sherpa through this journey. And one of the things we loved about when we were at Unleash together, as we were getting ready to do this session with 30 different practitioners, is we were on the floor learning together. We are not AI experts, but we are learning, and we are trying to find practical ways to make it realistic and for you to implement it. So I encourage you to take this and then receive the different steps. And then KJ is going to give you his email address. Please reach out to him as well. But I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Thanks, Ron. I just want to see if there's one more question before we start to close out. Can you share an example of how competitive data has helped a team pivot or improve outcomes? And I can see there that KJ has actually responded to you and given you his email. Please reach out to him directly. We'd love to share that information with you. And as Ryan rightly said, get your own personalized report. Scan this QR code, take the survey. You'll see where you stand. And then we're very happy to walk you through your personalized report, share benchmarks with you, and we'll show you how you stack up against your peers, who you compete against for talent. How do you get to the next stage? What does that next stage look like, etc. KJ, maybe I'll turn it over to you to close us out.
So I can only say one thing, that use us as a consultant, right? Use us as an advisor. We would love to share all the best practices, insights that we have gathered over a period of years. Uh, 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 no strings attached. My mission in life is to create an impact, and there's no other place to make a bigger impact than the industry we all are in. A lot of us get up in the morning, go to work, thinking that today what I'll do is going to help some people get jobs, right? If that is the common DNA we all share, uh, uh, anything and everything that you have under the sun that you're thinking about, talent acquisition, attraction, that you'd like to share, just have a, like a coffee chat, right? A chat with a friend. I would love to do that.
So first of all, big thank you to you, Ryan, for joining us today, and Kshitij, as always, for sharing your insights. Greatly appreciated. But most importantly, to everyone who joined us on LinkedIn or who has joined us here on Zoom, we're very grateful to you for your time. We know your time is very precious. Please get in touch with us. As KJ said, no obligation at all. We just want to listen, share what we know, and see how we can help you solve the problems that you're trying to address in your organization, in your teams, and for your company. KJ's email is up on the screen. Do not hesitate to reach out to him directly or visit us at joveo.com/AI-advisory, and we will do much more of this. Thank you once again for joining us. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.